Tonight, misinformation and disinformation.
Drugs never cure disease. Can you ever say never?
This self-styled alternative health promoter is touring Scotland, delivering false claims about vaccines and cancer.
There are no benefits from these other trials, and indeed some patients may be harmed by those treatments.
Also making the headlines, finally, an apology. Alan Marshall died after being restrained by 17 officers in Edinburgh Prison. The Scottish Prison Service admits his death was unlawful. Tributes to the former Lib Dem leader Ming Campbell, who's died aged 84. And an amazing grisly tale. A new stage production is celebrating the 1980s legendary Scottish wrestling bear, Hercules.
And in sports, the new URC rugby season gets underway with Glasgow Warriors against the Sharks.
I'm John Mackay. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. You probably won't recognise this woman, but she's notorious for spreading misinformation and disinformation about healthcare. She's what's known as an alternative health promoter, delivering false claims with no proven scientific basis about vaccines and cancer. She's been in Scotland all week for a series of lectures and workshops at the Crieff Hydro Hotel and Donald Trump's Turnberry Resort. Well, our reporter Caitlin Hutchison is here. And Caitlin, you've been looking into all of this, so tell us more.
Well, she presents herself as a natural health educator, but Barbara O'Neill has been branded a danger by medical regulators and banned from practicing in Australia after telling cancer patients to avoid chemotherapy and promoting anti-vaccine rhetoric. Some of the non-evidence-based comments made in her publications include cancer is a fungus that can be treated with bicarbonate, pregnant women don't need antibiotics for strep B, and vaccines have caused an epidemic of ADHD, autism, epilepsy and cot death. Now, we don't know exactly what she's saying during her lecture series here in Scotland, with ticket prices of up to £750, by the way. But the Scottish Government has called the views outlined dangerous misinformation. O'Neill also has a huge online following that's been targeted by scammers using her image to create AI-generated content pushing products. And experts say misinformation is more dangerous than ever. Barbara wouldn't speak to us on camera, but her husband did, so I put my questions about her controversial ideas to him.
Drugs never cure disease.
To put that crystal of Celtic salt on your tongue, the liver needs nutrients to detoxify us. They still don't know the full effect of those scans on the baby.
Her views have caused controversy online and across the globe. And in 2019, the Australian watchdog upheld a complaint that she makes dubious and dangerous health claims that are not evidence-based.
Do you believe cancer is a fungus?
I don't know. I don't know at all. It possibly could have something to do with it. I don't know.
But evidence from the watchdog shows this is a claim that Barbara has made on several occasions, referencing the work of highly discredited theorists, including one doctor who was convicted of manslaughter in 2006 for treating a brain tumour patient with sodium bicarbonate.
Thank you for the knowledge of the bicarb wraps. I pray your healing power will go through this treatment and make it impossible for cancer to survive.
And Barbara was just saying, just put it on the outside of your body, just to cause a bit of an alkaline reaction. It couldn't be more harmless. You know, you could only think it'd be more harmless as putting water on there.
The harm may come from people believing that this can help them.
Well, the mainstream treatment doesn't have a great track record. Scots are very intelligent people. They can make the choice. They can listen to the information, they can accept and reject. How dare the government get involved in this? How dare?
We weren't allowed to film the event, but I did manage to speak to Barbara inside, and she told me that her audience have been on the edge of their seat and eager to hear what she calls the truth. When I asked her about her claim that cancer is a fungus, something that's been widely debunked, she told me that it can be, but added that nothing deals in absolutes.
When you don't have letters behind your name, it means that you've investigated for yourself.
Ms. O'Neill is not a registered health practitioner. Anybody who's not a registered practitioner but is providing a health service is subject to a code of conduct. And if they breach that code, that triggers us taking action, which includes banning them, but obviously it stops at our national borders.
O'Neill also has a huge online following, and in an age of fake news and AI, experts say misinformation is more dangerous than ever.
Cancer is not a fungus, no. Diagnosis of cancer is a very stressful time for patients and their families, and they may be very vulnerable to health misinformation. I know that the treatments that I can give have proven clinical benefits, but there are no benefits from these other trials, and indeed some patients may be harmed by those treatments.
For Kenny, every day is a gift. As one of the few survivors of pancreatic cancer, which has the lowest survival rate of any major cancer, he says his treatment plan of chemotherapy, radiotherapy and surgery gave him precious extra time with his family.
I tried my best to avoid all that Dr. Google stuff and everything. I tried my best to avoid all that and just concentrate on what I was being told. My daughters had already lost their mum to cancer a couple of years before that. So I can't have that happening again. Trust the people you go and see at the National Health Service. They know what they're doing. Here's proof.
All this as Scotland's facing a stark rise in measles cases, with first dose uptake of the MMR vaccine at its lowest level in a decade.
If you are not vaccinated against measles, if measles is circulating, it will find you. So please, when you're looking for your trusted voices, look for the NHS information as well to be able to make your informed decisions about vaccination.
Whether it's vaccines or cancer treatment, the advice from health officials is simple. Trust the evidence-based science, not the myths. Caitlin Hutchison, STV News.
The Prime Minister has announced plans for a new digital ID scheme, which he says will make it tougher to work in the UK illegally. Opposition parties are dubbing the proposals as a gimmick that will do nothing to crack down on illegal migration. A political reporter, Laura Alderman, has the details.
Digital ID cards already exist in dozens of European countries, and over the years there's been repeated failed attempts by governments to bring them in here. But with Keir Starmer under pressure to act on illegal migration, today he announced plans to bring in compulsory digital ID cards, which he says will make it tougher to work in the UK illegally and make our borders more secure. But opposition parties argue that this will do very little to stop the small boats crisis, and the SNP and Scottish Government has said that they are opposed to any kind of compulsory card. So if these were brought in, what exactly would they look like? Well, we found out today that it will likely be in the form of an app on our smartphone, much like we store boarding passes. It could also display details like our photo, name, your date of birth and your employment status. The cards will be free and there will be no requirement for people to either carry their ID or be asked to produce it.
No, I don't see any issues with that. It's information that's there, the banks use it. I don't see any difference, and to be honest, as long as they're not inventing the wheel, then I'm fine with it.
I think it's a good idea because it stops too many people coming into the country or leaving the country, or actually who could be criminals.
There is this sort of overarching, slightly Big Brother-esque concern, isn't there, about people being aware of who you are and where you are.
Details we're still waiting on is exactly how much this policy is expected to cost and when it would be enforced. A consultation is expected to last 3 months, with legislation being introduced to Parliament early next year. Laura Alderman, STV News, Edinburgh.
Alan Marshall died in 2015 after being restrained by 17 officers in Edinburgh Prison. Today, the Scottish Prison Service admitted his death was unlawful. In an unprecedented court hearing, the Marshall family was also given public apologies from all 3 state bodies involved. Here's our chief reporter, Shan Frew.
Alan Marshall's family say from the moment they watched the CCTV footage from inside HMP Edinburgh, they knew that his death should never have happened. The 30-year-old was on remand when he suffered a mental health crisis. Instead of receiving medical attention, Alan was dragged to a segregation unit and restrained by up to 17 prison officers, some of whom used their feet. Alan died 4 days later. The Crown Office took the decision to grant the prison officers immunity from prosecution. After a decade-long campaign, Alan's family launched a civil case. At the Court of Session this morning, one by one, all of the state bodies involved lodged these admissions.
The Scottish ministers accept that the death of Alan Marshall occurred in circumstances which were incompatible with his right to life under Article 2 of the Convention, and accordingly his death was unlawful for the purposes of the Human Rights Act. The Scottish Prison Service sincerely apologise for the failings which have resulted in Mr Marshall's death.
Lady, the Lord Advocate similarly apologises for the failures specified.
The Chief Constable accepts that the investigation following the death of Alan Marshall fell below the required standard and that she is sorry about that.
Outside court, the Marshall family described today as an important step forward.
It doesn't feel real. It's still like we're in a daze type of thing, that we've actually, after 10 years, can hear them saying they're sorry that they killed him and they breached his human rights.
The judge acknowledged that this was an exceptional case which will have wider implications. For that reason, Lady Ross said she will now take time to consider her opinion. At a later date, the level of damages and compensation to be awarded to Alan's family will also be agreed.
It's hugely important for the family, but it's also very important for other families who have loved ones in our prison estate and others who are in custody and might be subject to restraint. It's a very important reminder of what the state's obligations are.
The Lord Advocate instructed police to examine whether the Scottish Prison Service could face corporate homicide charges over the death. 2.5 years on, Alan's loved ones are still waiting on the outcome of that investigation. Sharon Frew, STV News, Edinburgh.
Tributes are being paid to Lord Mingus Campbell, who has died at the age of 84. The former Liberal Democrats leader represented North East Fife for almost 3 decades.
Mingus Campbell made his name in 3 different arenas: the politics, law and athletics. As the leader of the Liberal Democrats, a Queen's Counsel and an Olympic and Commonwealth athlete. Universally known as Ming, Campbell competed at the 1964 Tokyo Olympics and 1966 Commonwealth Games in Jamaica. He followed a career in law, eventually becoming a QC.
These Liberal responses, for me and I guess for pretty well everyone here, are a matter of intuition rather than a matter of logic.
Throughout, he was a dedicated member of the Scottish Liberal Party. His first attempts to be elected to the House of Commons were in vain, but in 1987 he finally became an MP, winning North East Fife. As his party's foreign affairs spokesman, he was critical of the Iraq War.
Ming Campbell had a voice that transcended not just British politics but also international politics. I think when Ming spoke, people dropped what they were doing and listened, and a lot of people said he was the greatest foreign secretary that we never had.
He was elected party leader in 2006, succeeding Charles Kennedy.
I'm going to modernise our party so as to make a reality of 3-party politics in Britain.
Some critics believed he looked ill at ease in the role, regarding him as stiff and uninspiring. Supporters say he was the victim of ageism. He quit the leadership in 2007, being succeeded by Nick Clegg.
I can remember some uproariously funny moments with him and his late wife Elspeth, where we'd be in social occasions, and they were always delightful company to be with, and he'll be sorely missed.
Ming Campbell will be remembered as a logical and passionate advocate of liberal values at home and abroad. He served his constituency, his party and the country with distinction, earning the respect for the way he carried himself and his politics.
A man has been jailed for 4 years after driving at 134 miles per hour on the hard shoulder of the M8 and crashing into a police car. Dylan Hood's actions left 2 officers badly hurt. Hood was also high on cocaine and had an expired licence at the time of the 3-car smash in Glasgow last summer. A police probe into a funeral company has discovered at least 70 victims, but fear there could be hundreds. Dumbarton and Glasgow-based A. Milne funeral directors collapsed amid claims of people getting the wrong ashes. One woman has told STV News she's given up hope of getting either compensation or answers. Emma Maxwell has this report.
It's been a nightmare, you know.
When Bernadette Weir's husband died, aged 55, it was a shock that she says she's still coming to terms with.
Everything's still quite raw. Obviously all these folks are still about here. and I'm trying to go on, but I can't move forward with everything that's been happening.
Bernadette turned to A. Milne funeral directors believing they would provide a fitting funeral for Eddie. But Bernadette says that didn't happen. Instead, after paying a £1,400 deposit, she claims he was removed in the back of a car with the seats folded down.
I've seen a lot of red flags, which I didn't. I was just zoned out all the time and how you just not think about it. And I should have done it sooner. I shouldn't have went with him, you know. I shouldn't have went with him. I just feel bad now that I did, you know. So I've got to live with that I did, but I'm thankful to other undertakers had taken him under their care.
Bernadette hasn't received the rest of her money and isn't alone. One of the largest financial investigations by Police Scotland has so far found 70 victims. Officers fear there could be many more.
And it represents one of the larger ongoing financial investigations. As I said, so far we've identified in excess of 70 separate reports relating to this particular former funeral firm. I do firmly believe there's other people out there who have not had the confidence to come forward or who might not be aware. And my appeal is for those people, please come forward.
A raid on the firm's Springburn office found 19 urns with human ashes. 3 of those still haven't been claimed, whilst some families are worried they don't have the correct remains.
Listen, it forms part of a live investigation, and whilst I can't provide them with 100% reassurances or guarantees at this moment in time, it certainly forms part of an investigative strategy in order to provide those family members with that reassurance.
Last year, 2 women aged 37 and 55 were arrested, along with a 56-year-old man in connection with the inquiry and released without charge. Police say they're confident they can bring a resolution to this ongoing and complex investigation. Emma Maxwell, STV News.
Jamie has a sport tonight from Scotstoun Stadium.
Your window to sport. C.R. Smith sponsors STV Sport.
Good evening from Scotstoun Stadium as the new URC season kicks off tonight. Glasgow Warriors take on the Sharks as head coach Franco Smith seeks his second title with the Warriors in just 3 seasons. And the Glasgow head coach, of course, committing his future here over the summer. A huge bit of business and ending speculation over his future. I've been speaking to ex-Warriors legend Ryan Wilson about what we can expect from the season ahead.
Oh, it's going to be a big season. You know, they obviously had that massive high when they won the URC a couple of years ago. Last season didn't finish as well as they wanted, but yeah, all hopes on them having a big start tonight against the Hollywood Bet Sharks.
Got a few new players in, a few guys who have departed, but would you say that the biggest bit of business over the summer was getting Franco Smith that contract extension?
Yeah, it's definitely, it's been the hottest talking point, hasn't it? And to make sure they keep him at the club for the foreseeable future is massive. He's done fantastic things for Glasgow and Scottish rugby. You know, the way that he's pushed some of those players on and got so many British and Irish lines in the summer, it's fantastic to see him stay at the club.
The Warriors, obviously, they got to the last 4 last year. That was kind of a bit shorter of where they had been. Where do they need to improve this year to get back in and, you know, challenge for that title again?
Yeah, listen, Franco actually speaks about it. You know, they saw last year as a pretty big success because they did push on in Europe, but they need to go that one step further. That's what they want, and they want to be fighting on both fronts as well with the URC. So for him, everything's focused on obviously this massive game here tonight, get off to a good start, but they'll also be wanting to dig deep into this squad and try and use as many players. Young man Kerr Yule getting his debut tonight in the centres, and we know we're blessed with some pretty good centres, so I think he'll just be looking forward to making sure those boys do a good job tonight and put them on the right path.
Well, meanwhile, Edinburgh get their URC campaign away to Zebra in Italy tomorrow, and despite failing to get past the quarter-finals last time out, they are setting their sights high.
We want to win the league, really. I think we talked about it. It happened because people believe in it. Edinburgh have traditionally underperformed. I think last year, like you said, beginning of the season was disappointing, but the momentum we carried from the back end, if we can show that all the way through this season and put games back to back, I think that's something we can definitely achieve.
And you can watch Edinburgh's trip to Zebra as well as tonight's match between Glasgow Warriors and the Sharks on STV Player Plus with Premier Sports. Now we're on to football, and after Rangers defeat in the Europa League last night, we're back to Premiership action this weekend.
It's understandable, but we've got to, try and not feel the pressure and keep the big challenge. And yeah, like I said, I'm not going to back down.
For Celtic to start shifting through their gears again, a return to form for guys in Maida would be most welcome for Brendan Rodgers. Last season's top scorer has just 2 goals this time round and was hooked at half-time of Wednesday's Europa League match in Belgrade.
I'm very confident that he will get back to the level, and like I say, as a guy, he's a great person. Leaves everything out on the field.
Hibs go to Celtic Park tomorrow on the back of 4 consecutive league draws.
Some of the goals we've been losing and the timing of them, the timing's one thing, but I would be really disappointed with the goals we're losing anyway. So, and as a group we're disappointed in these moments. So that's the biggest bit. It doesn't matter whether it's the first minute or the last minute, some of the goals we're giving up isn't due to the timing, in my opinion, it's due to in the moments that we need to defend better.
Hearts know they can maintain their place at the top of the Premiership by beating Falkirk tomorrow, with the Edinburgh Derby also looming into view next weekend.
We are in a good position now, but we also need to win against Falkirk first and then think about the rest. And if we start thinking about other games before we play against Falkirk, it's not a win, it's not 3 points in a row straight away. So if we start thinking ahead already, that's such a bad thing.
Elsewhere in the Premiership, Kilmarnock travel to Tannadice, St Mirren host Dundee, while Motherwell are at home to Aberdeen. Livingston take on Rangers on Sunday. Golf and the Ryder Cup is underway in New York, with Robert McIntyre's European team getting off to a strong start. They lead the USA 3-1 after the morning session. McIntyre, partnering Victor Hovland, took his tie to the wire before losing on the 18th. The afternoon 4 balls are now just getting started. And that's all the sport from me here at Scotstoun Stadium as the URC season gets underway. It's Glasgow Warriors taking on the Sharks with an 8 o'clock kickoff.
Your window to sport. C.R. Smith sponsors STV Sport.
Weekend's coming, lots of plans, I'm sure. What's the weather going to be like? Here's Sean.
Outbreaks of ancient sites will gradually settle into an evening of pizza plates al fresco. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Well, it's been quite a bit more blustery out there today, given the squeeze down on the isobars, most noticeable around the west coast and across the islands. But the winds will be easing down into tomorrow. We've got this weather front coming through. We've got plans tomorrow. I'm afraid it's looking quite wet out there. But with pressure building on Sunday, the weather should be back to drier and brighter weather. But plans tomorrow, not looking too great. Now through this evening and tonight, dry with clear spells. We still hang on to that good old breeze up the west coast and across the islands, and given the fact that the air is getting churned and mixed up a bit more, not quite as chilly. Look at the difference in our temperatures. Stirlingshire, South Lanarkshire, the borders, we've had temperatures last couple of nights, 2 3s. Tonight will be about 9 or 10 degrees Celsius at low, so a milder night to come. Here comes that rain tomorrow morning, at least across lights of Falkirk and across Lanarkshire. Much of Ayrshire dry, bright to start with, but then we see that rain coming in through the afternoon. Now, the unfortunate thing for us is that rain is going to be moving in from the west, but during tomorrow evening, it's going to just start to pivot across central and southern parts. And in the dark shaded blue areas, quite widely, we'll get about an inch worth of rain during tomorrow. But the pink shades you can see there across Arran, Kintyre, parts of Argyll and Bute, around the lights of Inveraray, and also around Newton Stewart and Dumfries and Galway, the possibility of about 2 inches of rain. But that clears away north, and it should be much brighter on Sunday. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And finally, the incredible true story of Scotland's superstar bear Hercules is coming to the stage for the first time, inspired by the Scottish couple who raised a 10-foot grizzly in their Sheriffmuir home and made it to international stardom. Our reporter Heem Cham was with the cast at Ayers Gaiety Theatre.
It's Hercules the bear, right!
His popularity and personality was unmatched. Hercules was a European grizzly bear owned by wrestler Andy Robin and his wife Maggie in Sheriffmuir.
Hercules and Big Diddy.
In the 80s, he toured the world, appearing in TV shows and film sets. And for the first time, his incredible life story has clawed its way back into the spotlight, thanks to theatre company Tenterhooks.
Fergus, the lead artist on the project, is a designer and puppet maker, so he was really interested in making sure that when we told this story we really had the impact of the feeling of a big bear, and that could only really be done with a puppet. And the rest of the performers are trained clowns, so it just made sense for us to combine those elements together to tell the story.
25 years after his passing, Maggie Robin is helping guide the cast in bringing Hercules' story to a whole new generation.
Hercules lived up to the dreams of the public and of the children, that that was when he was christened the Big Softy, because he was so full of fun, of humour. He would really be funny with you and play tricks on you, and he used to bite Andy's bottom and pull his trunks down.
But his escape in US is what sparked global attention.
Worldwide news had got a hold of it, and always in the two news shows at night, it would be, and finally, have we found Hercules? And this was what everybody was waiting to see. So his adventure, if you could call it that, it was certainly a very vivid adventure. It went on for 24 days.
Scotland has its own bear legend, a 10-foot grizzly that went from Sheriffmuir to international stardom. And now, with comedy, puppetry and a whole lot of heart, this gentle giant is set to steal the hearts one more time. Raheem Cham, STV News, Ayr.
I don't think the bear was the only thing stealing hearts there. Well, that's it from all of us. Have a great weekend. The weather not so great on Saturday. Good for Sunday, though. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Good night.